It's been a season of landmark events for the Weekend Warriors so far, so it's only fitting that we travel from one landmark racing venue to another, from Barcelona to Interlagos. The virtual world continues to allow us opportunities to see SCCA racing in all parts of the globe. Today, it's South America, as the SRF Weekend Warriors Series welcomes you to round number 10 in Sao Paulo, Brazil, at the Autódromo José Carlos Pace. You'll see all the action live on the Global Sim Racing channel via the iRacing eSports Network. Up in the booth today calling the action is Ryan Walker, joining myself, Nick Schmeg, and Joe Peak is in the director's duties behind the scenes today using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Interlagos is a track that is known for producing exciting racing in Formula One, especially when there's a championship on the line. For the Spec Racer Fords, the on-track action might look a bit different today, but the championship implications remain the same as we wind down this season. Let's learn some more about this racetrack with the help of the GSRC Lap Guide.
Welcome to Autódromo's José Carlos Pace. Most fans and drivers simply know this place as Interlagos. Starting life as an absolute behemoth of a circuit, this Brazilian track was eventually truncated to the version you see today. Having hosted Formula One for roughly 3 decades, it's become very well known on the international stage. But it has also held rounds in the World Endurance Championship, as well as frequently seen Brazilian stock cars, motorcycles, and even truck racing. There's little difference between its two layouts, which includes the GP course and the Moto course, which simply adds a chicane to the end of the lap. In both cases, it's a tale of two circuits. The run past the start-finish line and into the Senna S, followed by the blast towards the Descida do Lago, are very high-speed sections that come back-to-back. Drivers will need to focus on top end in order to attack or defend. Expect most passes to happen in those two corners. But from Ferradura until Juchao, the track suddenly twists itself into a mess of hairpins and frustratingly technical turns. This can make car setup a real compromise, and for the latter part of the lap, an absolute pain when dealing with traffic. Pit exit is also a narrow affair, so it requires drivers to take care when trying to maximize their outlaps. On the upside, with this being a modern F1 track, there's paved runoff in abundance at many of the fast corners. The passion of the Brazilian fans always comes out in force at races, and it's no wonder with this picturesque track sandwiched right amongst the neighborhoods of Sao Paulo.
There you see, it's a beautiful suburban setting here for Interlagos. Track, like I said, it sees a lot of worldwide action, but it might look a little bit different for these SCCA-sanctioned Weekend Warriors, the Spec Racer Fords. Ryan, tell us a little more about this track here at Interlagos.
Yeah, this fantastic Autódromo José Carlos Pace track is one of my favourites on the iRacing service, and using the Grand Prix layout today, and this track, considering the size of it, has only got about 15 turns, but the length of it is pretty big, so 2.67 miles and 76 miles in length, I should say, and is 4.309 kilometers if you prefer to use that. And just a bit of brief history about the track. It's hosted the World Endurance Championship, Formula One, a host of a whole range of GT series, and quite a few other things as well. And a few keys to the race around this track as well. Patience will be the key, and also that pit entry and pit exit you will have to be careful around.
Absolutely. You mentioned all the real-world series that Interlagos has been able to host. It wouldn't be able to host the Weekend Warriors if it weren't for our great sponsor coming along this season as well, because the Weekend Warriors series is brought to you by Sim Stickers. Whether it's button boxes, steering wheels, or keyboards, they've got you covered. And now if you use the promo code GSRC10 when purchasing, you'll get 10% off all orders for the whole season. That's GSRC10. You can find out more at simstickers.co.uk. I mentioned Ryan as well. We've got some points winding down, or the season winding down, so points are becoming more and more important. We've got the Spec 1 and the Spec 2 points. Let's take a look at the Spec 1 points, though, first.
Yeah, absolutely. In the S1 stands at the moment, it's being led by David Gaspers at the moment, who's pretty much been the man in form, or has been the man to beat in the series. But Maurizio Naselli is not letting him get away that easy in second place. And then Daniel Sadro has fallen back a little bit, but he's still in the top three with 75 points. And then the consistent people, or the form men, as I like to call them, is Michael Dobeck and Aaron Rockprince, who are having a pretty damn good season. So, yeah, good to see them being rewarded for consistency.
Fantastic to see Erwin Rotkins make that graphic finally after he's been on the Spec 2 and the Spec 1 graphic now this season after being promoted. But some sad news from the Spec 2 standings. We understand that Aaron Vagley might not be finishing off this season. So that points lead there might have a bit of an asterisk next to it. Dominique Bureau sits 9 points back. That's the closest we've seen it yet this year. Kenneth Bately sits in third. Jim McGill and Tom Gradwell down further below. But you can see just how tight those gaps are. Only 4 points from third to fourth and only 8 points from fourth to fifth. So every little position matters even more now that Erwin Rotkins has been promoted out of S2 to S1. Just makes for some fantastic competitiveness down in the Spec 2 class. We've got some great competitiveness on track today, though, and to help our viewers understand that, Ryan, why don't you go through the race details?
So yeah, as always, some details about the series for anyone that's tuned in for the first time or is unsure how the series works. This is a round 10 of 12, and the setups, as always, are open setups, so you can change anything like suspension, tyre presses, cambers, ride height, anything like that, but you cannot change the fuel as it is limited to 35%, so a mandatory pit stop will be required, and the race length is 40 minutes, and the points are rationed out from 100 down to 25, and the incident points, you'll get -3 points for every 10 incidents. And as always, if you have a big crash or a big incident or you get bad damage, you will have a free fast repair and a brand new car.
Absolutely. Might see a bit of that today with these tricky conditions out on track. But as always, you are watching the SRF Weekend Warriors series on the iRacing Esports Network. It's not just the Weekend Warriors that are on IESN, but it's a whole bunch of series. It sounds like there's even an Indy 500 going on right now. So racing on all ends of the spectrum in the world. A great stage to be a part of, and highly recommend, if you haven't done so yet, to scroll down and subscribe so you don't miss a second of that great action. We're watching qualifying on track now. There's Erwin Rotkins. He's up to second place right now on the grid. David Gaspers, surprise, surprise, the win, going for win number 5 today after a win last week at Barcelona. He's on top of the board with Felix Simoes down in third.
Absolutely, and Simoes has been in good form at the moment, and just looking down the list as well, they've got Donald Fitterer returning to the series for, I'm not sure how long, but for a few races anyway, since he's not raced, and good to see him back on the grid.
Absolutely, it's a big grid today. We've got about 50 drivers out there today. It's going to be a packed racetrack here. It's not a huge track around here, Ryan. It's 2.68 miles, or like you said, it's let me check. It's 4.3 kilometers. But you know, we've seen lap traffic play a factor in a couple of different racing venues this season. I'm not sure if the length of this track is going to catch these drivers out so much as the width. You're mentioning in the pre-race that this track is very tight, and the battles might just be a little bit more intense because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I say Interlagos, it's probably, you could look at it as a lawn track, but in some, like the first sector as well, especially, it's a really tight tracks. The hairpins, there's not really a lot of room to go through side by side, so some of these drivers are going to have to be a bit wary and think about how they're going to go about this race. Do you want to go aggressive early, or do you want to be cautious? We know some drivers in the series that are a bit, you could say, a bit racy.
They definitely are. Lots of competitiveness in this series, and rightfully so. We've seen some great races so far this year. Like I mentioned, we've got a big grid of drivers. If you want to keep up to date with your favorite driver, gsrc.tv is a great place to do that. It's some live timing and scoring for you over there. Lots of data and lots of numbers to look at and analyze throughout the race. 40 minutes for this race today, and it's a lot to keep track of in such a short amount of time. So head on over to gsrc.tv for just a little extra help comes in handy for us in the booth, and highly recommend it for our viewers as well. Just adds to the experience. There's Miro Hratsky, one of the drivers who has not yet set a time yet today. 43 drivers so far qualified, now 44, because Hratsky is going to go up to 33rd on the grid with that time.
Yep, and Brett Holton just coming up up to the home straight to complete his lap as well, and they currently down in 42nd. But he looks like he's starting another lap. But at the moment it's David Gasper's at the top in qualifying, and not really surprised there. But at the moment, Aaron Rotkrins is not that far behind him either. Neither is Felix Samos. So it's really looking at the lap times in Nicholas. It's really close at the moment.
It is indeed. Not too much room for error around Interlagos, but it might be a track just a little bit unfamiliar to these drivers. Some of these drivers, of course, do branch out quite a bit, and they don't just run the spec racer Ford, but for this car, certainly looks unique out there on this venue. I'm also noticing the use of draft. Felix Samos, he's getting a little bit of draft off of Erwin Rotkrins. I've even seen Jason Perry. He's just gone up to 3rd place on the grid with the help of some draft. He had Paulo Brem and Donald Fitterer in front of him. There's a name that we haven't seen in a couple of rounds here in the Weekend Warrior. So lots of old faces coming back. It's great to see. But the first point I was going to make, Ryan, is slipstream here. It's definitely useful, but the turns that follow the draft are a little bit daunting, it seems.
Yeah, I think there's quite a lot of straights around this track, and that run up to the home straight, if you get a good run, you can get a slipstream on someone and possibly try and make a move. But with the slipstream as well, you've got to be really careful not to run into the back of someone. So I think in the early stages of the race, we could see, I don't want to jinx it, but we could see possibly some drivers having issues.
Absolutely, we'll have to keep an eye on that. That spare car might just come in handy. Just a couple of minutes left in qualifying. Felix Samos trying to improve that lap time. He's been bumped down to 4th place. This long straightaway, it is quite curvy, and you're also running downhill as well. It always sets up for some great finishes. You can really hug the inside there as you see Samos is able to do that. That lap time is going to be a bit slower, about 0.4 slower. Maurizio Naselli, haven't mentioned him yet. He sits just behind him by 7/1000ths of a second in 5th place. And you can see one of those long straightaways. There's Gorka Iterate. And he just went past that pit exit as well, which is interesting at this track. Ryan, the pit exit here, you have a lot of track that's not, it's not conjoined to the actual track here. It's a completely separate road that spits you out a couple of turns ahead of where pit road actually is. Might be interesting to see drivers get through that today. It might make or break your pit strategy if you're not able to get through there cleanly, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely, and also that pit entry as well in the home straight. It's kind of drivers will have to be careful about that as well. If they're trying to get a slipstream off someone, if they try and get a run, and someone dives into the pits maybe at the last second, then they could put the driver behind could possibly get caught out. Sorry, as Stephen Else is getting a run to the line, and they doesn't improve.
Not able to here. Seems like these drivers have used up their equipment early on. It is a pretty nice day out in Brazil today in the virtual world. Track temperature 95 degrees Fahrenheit, not too windy at all. And this is being run right at about noon virtual standard time, so that should get a little bit warmer throughout the day unless we see some significant cloud cover.
Yep, as Aaron Rotkrins comes over the line but doesn't improve, and championship leader David Gasper's on another lap at the moment, but this will be his last chance to improve. As the timers just ran out in qualifying, and this will be the last lap for these drivers.
Will be indeed. Just a couple of drivers really left out on track. You see Ignacio Hernandez Ros. He was 28th, and that will not be an improvement there. Slower by about 0.4 of a second. How about Kenneth Bately? Looks like he's headed to the pits. Ed Doherty, on the other hand, he's going to stay out. The driver from New York. He's sitting down in 27th. And that one's going to be about a 10th slower.
Tim Van Dormelen coming up to the line as well, and Miro Baraski is coming up as well, but it looks like he's going to dive into the pit lane.
Looks like we've got Emil Orza also going to the pits. David Gaspers is going to follow him in. Everyone's nice and orderly headed to the paddock, it seems. Kevin Boswell, the next out on track in that 719 car. He's going to head in for some lunch here, it looks like, as well. I think the next driver on track is Gorka Iturrate. It is indeed. He's making his way up the hill now, which in turn will become downhill. Driver of the number 41 from Iberia, he's going to go right here, and he's going to stay on track. He's sitting in 8th place right now. Let's see if this one's any better. Looks like he had an off track there. Not going to count. That is going to be everyone. We've got 50 cars even on the grid today, so let's go through them. David Gaspers and Erwin Rotkrins. What an all-star row number 1 we've got today. Jason Perry, a name we haven't seen too much, alongside Felix Simoes in row number 2. Maurizio Naselli and Miroslav Juracek are going to be right behind, followed by Daniel Sadro and Gorka Iturrate. Row number 5 is going to be made up of Hugh Haycox and Donald Fitterer.
Yep, starting in 11th is Stephen Elson. Alongside him is my fellow Scotsman, Jerry McAreevy. And 13th is Emil Orza. Alongside him, and 14th is Jorgen Peterson. And 15th is Ian Haycox with Samuel Dick in 16th. 17th is Adam Bradshaw. 18th is Simon Meyer. 19th is series organiser Stevie Ray. And rounding out the 20 is the beekeeper himself, Jim McGill.
Yernej Zorach is going to be back starting in 21st in front of Michael Dobek, Chris Murakami, Dominic Bureau, and Antonio Reese. Then we've got some more S2 drivers like Kenneth Bately behind there, starting alongside with Ed Doherty and Ignacio Hernandez Ros right behind. Row number 15 is going to be made up of Tim Van Dormelen and Paulo Brem, 2 fast drivers back in the pack.
Starting in 31st is Will Ferry, 32nd is Jeb Jacobson, Michael Shaw starts in 33rd with Richard Franco in 34th. Australia's Tom Gradwell starts in 35th with Miro Baraski starting in 36th with Bob Cameron in 37th. 38th is Brian Short, 39th is Bert Triedler, and starting in 40th is Paul Jackson.
Brett Holton in the number 8 car will be back behind them, with Michigan's very own Brandon Brystead in 42nd. 43rd and 44th are going to go to Jason Brown and Jeff Cantor, with Kevin Boswell, the slowest of the 45 drivers that qualified today. On the grid behind them, it's going to be Philippe and Yannick Chavin, Andres Bertoni, Jonathan Mino, and Robert Ile, rounding out 50 cars even here at Interlagos. It's quite a few, and they are already getting gridded up with the pace car out there. They are pointed uphill, so we don't have a full pace lap today, but certainly a pace lap enough to get those nerves out of the drivers and to get 40 minutes of racing underway.
Absolutely, and these drivers, they headed down turn 1, they're going to have to be very careful, and I suspect, Nicholas, it's going to be a bottleneck effect into turn 1.
I am admittedly a little bit nervous for how they get through Senna, Ryan. This is 50 cars going downhill into a very tight, narrow set of S's, and then onto a long straightaway where they'll have draft and slipstream to try to slingshot one another into a hard braking zone. That might spell some chaos, and I'm not sure, Ryan. I don't know how they're going to get through it all.
Yeah, I'm a bit, yeah, kind of not sure how it's going to be into turn one. I think, yeah, these drivers are just going to have to be very careful and be very aware of what's going on around them, and yeah, not try and be a hero into turn one.
We've certainly got a lot of talent starting up towards the front of the field, like David Gaspers and Erwin Rotkrins, who will take that green flag first. They make their way through all of these sections that go left and right, left and right. Lots of room for passing, but it's going to be hard to keep your car ahead through there. And then back downhill. Lots of elevation change at this track. Now, the curbs, I'm already noticing Gaspers even on the curbs. They are so wide here. A whole Spec Racer Ford car can fit perfectly on top of one of them. They might, though, catch you out. They can be your best friend and your worst enemy at the same time here.
Yeah, absolutely. If you take up, the race I done in the official series last week, not last week, earlier on this afternoon, and especially in turn one, if you take too much curb on the exit, it can just unsettle the car and spin you around, and as the field bunches up, and yeah, waiting for the safety car to pull on, and soon we'll be underway with round 10 of the Weekend Warriors.
We will be indeed. Buckle your seatbelts, not just for our drivers, but for our viewers. This one's going to be a wild one. They are following the pace car, but he's going to pull in pit lane. David Gaspers rightfully going to stay out because the green flag is out here in the SRF Weekend Warriors. You can see them fan out here on the front straightaway. 4 wide already, 5 wide further back. Gaspers, how many lanes can he defend at once as they head down into turn number 1? Gaspers sticks his nose ahead. Jason Perry, he's going to squeeze through to second place. Not a great start from other drivers further back, like Nicelli, like Rotkrins. But it is a great start for drivers like Felix Simoes, Nicelli, and Miroslav Juracek, who are gaining spots, but they're still 3 wide onto the straightaway.
Yeah, that was a bit. Yeah, I was a bit scared heading down to turn one, but in the further back in the pack, we've got Daniel Sadler trying to make a move as well, and can he get the move done up the inside? Yeah, looks like he can just get it done.
I think Van Dormelen might have had a problem. We'll check on that later. Meanwhile, for the lead, David Gaspers has to hold off Jason Perry, who has caught him in a heartbeat. That inside line got a rocket launch of a start. And Gaspers is going to go a little bit wide. That's going to open the door for Perry here on lap number 1. This is the part of the track I was talking about, Ryan. So many left, right. You can see a big slide from Gaspers there. These cars, these tires still getting up to heat. It is so sketchy here in the opening corners.
Yeah, absolutely, and I don't think David and Jason want to fight straight away. If I was them, I would be working together to try and pull away. And but at the moment, it looks like they've got a little bit of a gap to third place man Felix Simoes, and Simoes under a bit of pressure from what looks like Maurizio Nicelli and Miroslav Juracek.
Looks like we've got this down to a train of cars. It is Simoes and Nicelli and Juracek back in 3rd, 4th, and 5th, but they are going to spread out just a little bit here as they exit the final corner and back onto the front straightaway. Coming downhill, David Gaspers, he's the only one that kept his position the same from the start to lap number 2. Gaspers is going to lead the first lap here at Interlagos.
Yep, and as I head down to turn 1, and Simoes is slow slightly on Jason Perry, and at the moment, this front pack seems to be pulling away from pulling away from the first person, and behind them in 6th, it looks like Erwin Rotkrins, but Rotkrins, just looking at his front end, has got a little bit of damage.
He might indeed. Lots of contact, and apparently a lot for Rotkrins, who started first, and he's actually just now being spun as well. That's Daniel Sadro, who's going to get into the back of the 069 machine, and he comes across track and hits the likes of Steven Elson as well. Oh man, other drivers having to take to the escape route there on the right to the runoff. Albeit paved, still going to cost him an off track just to avoid it. What a disaster here for Rotkrins.
Yeah, it just looks like, it's like Sadro might have just outbraked himself.
And Sadro, after that, continued to lose some more positions. He's got quite a bit of damage on that 51 machine.
Yeah, just watching the I was just watching the replay as well, and it looked like Stephen Elson slowed down a little bit as well. So I don't know if he was caught up in that incident or if he might have just got a slowdown. But yeah, I have to say, Interlagos is providing the like we both predicted a bit of mayhem. But up at the front, they've got the first, second, third, fourth, fifth place. They're starting to put just basically leaving the rest of the pack in their dust.
Yeah, David Gaspers has been caught by Jason Perry was already with him, but they've been caught by Felix Simoes, Naselli, and Juracek, that train of 3 cars. It's now a train of 5 cars as they go a little bit side by side for 4th place back there between Naselli and Juracek. They'll get that sorted out. It looks like Gaspers might be caught just by all these drivers working together.
Yeah, absolutely. And David Gaspers is just basically pulled away from Jason Perry, and he's got built up the lead to about 1 second. So, and I'm just looking further back in the pack as well. It looks like Aaron Rockprince has went into the pits and to get a fast repair and a brand new car.
Would be a wise choice. Simoes has gone into second as we are riding on board with Juracek. You can see that just a bit ahead. Now Felix Simoes, who seems to be maybe a little bit quicker than Jason Perry, maybe he'll be able to lead the way for them up to Gaspers, but Juracek is going to go off track there. A little bit of a mistake on those curbs, it looks like, Ryan.
Yeah, it's like I was talking about before with regards to the curbs. If you take too much curb, especially that one, if you take too much of it, it just unsettles the car. And luckily, Juracek was able to save it, but he's managed to keep going again. He hasn't lost that much time to these 3 cars in front of him.
A little bit of a slide there from Felix Simoes. The oversteer in these cars is really catching them out on some of these switchback corners. They've got to watch out for that. It's the last thing they need if they want to get up there and contend for the lead with Gaspers. Here you see Naselli looking outside of Jason Perry. They're going to go 3 wide here for 2nd place.
Yeah, this is a bit. Ooh, who's going to back out first? It looks like Simoes backs out. He was first. Oh, and I think I don't know if he did, but it looked like from what I saw, it looked like he might have just lost Jason.
Naselli, that's too much curb, like you mentioned. All of a sudden, from 2nd to turning the wrong way around.
Yep, and they have proved my points yet again. Taking too much curb in the exit of the turn. Of turn 2 rather, or the Senate S, I guess. It just unsettles the car, but I'm just looking further back in the field in the Spec 2 class, and I think if I'm correct, it's been led by the 297 car of Jorgen Peterson.
I believe you're right, and we see Naselli. There he is, right in front of Ed Doherty and Jorgen Peterson, who did have a great start. A lot of these drivers had a great start, especially Ed Doherty, though, from 27th up to 15th.
I thought Jerry McAreevy was going to go for a move up the inside of Peterson, but it looks like Peterson just had to slow up a little bit due to a concertina effect happening in front of him, and right behind him is my fellow Scotsman Jerry McAreevy, but behind him he's got a few people looking to take his place, like Michael Dobeck and Jim McGill.
That's a big gaggle back there indeed. Peterson trying to hang on to that. He's got a while back to McGill, like you mentioned, a couple cars back there. You see a little bit of side-by-side further back, but now Peterson under threat for this 15th overall position. That's Doherty looking around him, or that's McAreevy, rather. Man, that wall comes up so close to him.
And McAreevy up the inside, he's trying to get the move done, and Michael Dobeck's trying to get in on the action as well.
Oh, a bit of contact.
Contact between Dobeck and Peterson.
And they've just gone around Stevie Ray, who's sitting sideways in the wall as well. Stevie Ray still sideways on track. That's a dangerous spot to be. He gets it back going. Man. Chaos everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all kicking off now. Is the replay's coming up now to see what happened with Stevie Ray, and it looks like he'd had a bit of contact with Donald Fitterer.
He had actually made it up to 9th place. He was looking around for 7th and 8th place there. Yeah, turn 1 caught him out, and Fitterer spun around as well, and Stevie Ray actually helped Fitterer to get back going straight. Just came at the expense of his number 11 car.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stevie, it looks like he's got some big damage on the front, but the back up at the front, this battle for second place is still going on. And David Gasper's, like he's done for most of this season, basically, is again just pulled away while these guys scrap amongst themselves like a set of hungry dogs.
I mentioned earlier, Gaspers is going for his 5th win today. He's won at the Nordschleife, Sonoma, Spa, and last week Barcelona, going for 2 in a row once again this year. And so far, he's looking to be on track at another one. But I wouldn't count this out yet, because this, like I said, this train for second place right behind him, there you see, creeping over the hill. That's being led by Felix Simoes, then Jason Perry and Miroslav Jurček. The big thing I noticed that time on the straightaway, they had the toe to slingshot around each other. They didn't. Instead, they stayed in line. They stayed in the draft. They have seemed to be calmed down a little bit more, maybe racing a bit conservatively, maybe just trying to catch Gaspers for the lead.
Absolutely, and the battle for P9 at the moment is going on between Maurizio Naselli, Adam Bradshaw, and it looks like behind these two cars is it looks like Samuel Dick.
It is Naselli right now trying to get those spots back. He's doing a good job of it. He had fallen back outside the top 10, still back there, but up in 9th. So he has been able to gain a couple spots on this lap, it looks like. But we've got side by side, we've got to jump you back up to 3rd place because Jurček has just gotten around Jason Perry.
Yeah, that was a good move by Jurček, and Perry didn't really make a fight of it. He just decided to let him go, and around Interlagos, being behind someone is not always a bad thing. You can use your slipstream to fuel save, especially on the straights, and also do a bit of lifting and coasting.
Well, they did catch Gaspers for a bit. It was down to 2.6 seconds, and before that it was up over 3 seconds. We'll have to keep an eye on that gap and see if it grows or shrinks as those drivers in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th continue to battle, but also seemingly possibly work together. We've gone 10 minutes so far, just over 10 minutes so far in this race. Already some chaos everywhere on track. Drivers that have had problems. Michael Shaw is out of this race. Burke Treidler is out of this race. Tim Van Dormelen had an issue at the start with Kenneth Bately. They are back in 47th and 48th, so lots of fast drivers all over this track were taken out early from contention. It's all happened behind David Gaspers, though. Continues to lead. This is an interesting bit of teamwork here. These cars have been stuck together all race long. It's been Ian Haycox and Emil Orza, but the difference here, Ryan, is that they haven't been passing each other. They've been, like you said, that 99 of Emil Orza has just been staying in line behind Ian.
Yeah, and it looks like he could be fuel saving. As looking at the replay to see what happened to Samuel Dick, it looks like he might have just got tagged around by Ed Doherty. Or it might have been a bit of a double whammy by Adam Bradshaw. It was Ed Doherty went into the back of Samuel Dick, and again, Ed caught up in an incident, and it seems to be pretty much the story of his season so far.
Had a bit of a shove. That's unfortunate, because you're right, Samuel Dick, not only has he had bad luck this season, but he was on a tear so far in this race, up 6 spots, and looking to get a couple of more, and that will send him quite a bit back. He's outside the top 20 now.
Absolutely, and I'm just looking just looking to see if there's any other battles going on at the moment, and there looks like Ed Doherty is being closed down by Adam Bradshaw and Jerry McAreevy, and also it looks like Jim McGill. But the battle for P2 is still going on at the moment as well, and the Felix Samoas is being closed down quickly by Miroslav Jurasek in third place.
Felix Samoas has been sliding that 31 SRF around this track quite a bit. We saw another slide for him coming down through the S's, and that was, I mean, that's exactly what caught Maurizio Deselli out. Was just getting a little bit too much curb through there. Samoas has got to be careful. He's got that thing on edge right now. And Miroslav Juracek and even Jason Perry, who's fallen back quite a bit, about a second behind these two drivers, they would be ready to strike at any moment that 31 makes a significant mistake.
Absolutely, and these guys they left kind of just built up a bit of a gap to Jason Perry a little bit. But if these guys get caught, so Perry will be more than happy to pick up a couple of places. And I'm just watching Felix now, and it was the same last week. He was sliding around a lot and just seemed to lose rhythm a little bit, and also seemed to get a little bit rattled.
Yeah, you don't want to burn out all your equipment this early on in the race. They do also have a pit stop to take today, which is going to be interesting. With such a big track that they've got to make it around, but really such a narrow margin for error. Fuel savings certainly going to come into play. You see Juracek staying back for now. Are we going to see him slingshot here? He's got to run. He's looking around. They come all the way down to that guardrail, looking underneath them, giving him a bit of a bump draft even onto the front straightaway. I think Juracek's going to lose his opportunity to get around Samoas to there.
Yeah, and Samoas keeps the position, but Juracek just giving a bit of a bump draft, trying to maybe just try and help him catch back up to David Gaspers. But further back, we've got Maurizio Naselli right up inside of Emo Rosa for what looks like a sixth position. And that was a bit of a Daniel Ricciardo style send, I should say.
Naselli trying to get those spots back. Certainly, you can understand his eagerness so far in this race, but it looks like Orza is going to get around him for sixth place, but that line is going to switch back in preference of Maurizio Naselli there. He slips in underneath. That's Ian Haycock's behind, who's been working along with Emil Orza so far until this point. Might give him a little bit of a bump there, but with a couple of switchback corners, sets of corners coming up, no telling in who's going to come out on top of this battle.
And behind these guys as well, we've got the battle for ninth position going on between Ed Doherty and Jerry McAreevy. And this pack is really, really close. This is absolutely built up, this pack. And in this pack is Jerry McAreevy ties up the inside with a send and a half. And Michael Dobeck wants a piece of the action, but also Adam Bradshaw and the Honey Monster Jim McGill are basically sticking with this pack rather.
What a move by McAreevy to get up there and get into ninth. He's going to be able to gap a little bit back to Ed Doherty and Michael Dobeck, who were side by side there for a moment. Like you said, Adam Bradshaw, Jim McGill, Andres Bertoni has even joined the fight here. Just a train of cars. One mistake will stack up the entire pack, but it'll swarm you if you are out front right now like McAreevy. He's got to be careful. He's got to stay consistent here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like McAreevy's just pulling away ever so slightly. And this pack is actually building up as well. Like you say, Bertoni's in the background as battle as well. Is that it looks like Jim McGill's dived into the pits.
He is indeed. Might be one of our first scheduled pitters today. Actually, it looks like we've had a couple of people come into pits so far today. The 41 car was the first one, Gorka Iterate. And to put all worry aside, yes, Stevie Ray has come into pits. He didn't get jumped by anyone. It's all right. Meanwhile, you see on screen as we're approaching halfway, there's Stevie Ray with a full tank of fuel. He had some problems early on. He finds himself right now back in 36th, but of course, he has gone to the pit, so he'll be making up a couple of those positions later on in this race. Who's that he just got by? That's Jonathan Gaston Mino, who was off track, it looked like. 49 car falling back significantly.
And I'm just looking in the pack as well to see what's going on, and it looks like since Jim McGill made his pit stop, that gives the Spec 2 lead to I believe is Dominic Bureau.
Looks that way, who might become the point, well, he should become the points leader today if he can keep that position, but also with Aaron Vagel. And this is interesting. Felix Samos slowing on the front straightaway. What has gone wrong with the 31?
I'm just having a look at the replay to see what happened myself, and hopefully I can get it. But yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't see anything.
Yeah, I don't see anything. I don't know. That's weird. I don't know if he's had a technical issue or if he's maybe something to do with shifter, but that was a weird one.
Very bizarre. Mistake maybe, or malfunction for Samos. It'll drop him back to 4th place. He hasn't lost too much ground. He does lose a spot to Juracek, and he has kind of started to reel Hugh Haycox in. Hugh, who started back in 9th place, he's got up to 5th, and he's got the podium in sights now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hugh Haycox has been a bit of a quiet race for Hugh Haycox. To be honest, he's just been going about his business and not getting caught up in any incidents or not doing anything silly. But at the moment, currently sitting in 5th place and not that far away, like you mentioned, not that far away from a podium place at the moment.
He did have that surprise win at Donington earlier on in the season. That was a great race for him, but Hugh Haycox, like you mentioned, looking at a podium here, that was his only podium so far this season. He'd love to get a second one, even if it doesn't mean getting that top step.
Absolutely. And yeah, at the moment, I'm just looking for myself anyway. I'm just watching the battle for 15th at the moment between Dominic Bureau and Simon Meyer, and yeah, these guys have been pretty close for quite some time, and yeah, it looks like Meyer's got the run on Dom.
Don't forget too, this is for the Spec 2 overall lead because of where the pit cycles have shuffled through. Simon Meyer taking a peek to the outside. He might have the momentum, but how long is that going to last? Is it going to come to a standstill? The 208, what is he going to be able to do to defend on the inside? Is they're about to head downhill into turn number 1? It looks like Meyer's going to give heed to the 208. Bureau, who slides big time, lots of counter steer in that car. He's going to save it, but that's going to allow Meyer to come back to the outside. Up on the curbs goes the 208 of Bureau. They're still side by side onto the straightaway.
Well, I tell you one thing, I bet that was a heart and mouth moment for Dom, because he done well to hold on to that, and he got sideways into turn 1, but these guys are still going at it side by side as they head down into turn 3, and it looks like Simon's got the position.
He does for now. That makes him our new Spec 2 leader today. Of course, a lot of drivers have gone to the pits, so we'll have to see when they pit where they shuffle through. But man, what a great first half of the lap for both of those drivers. Not just for Meyer to get that position, but for Bureau not to send that car into the tire barrier.
Absolutely, that was well. Yeah, I just watched him and he got sideways into turn 1, and I thought he was going to spin it, and luckily he managed to hold it. And Bureau, if he just sits behind Simon, he could possibly save some fuel and maybe try and stretch out the fuel by maybe an extra lap. And these guys have still got to pit obviously, but the battle for P3 is still going on at the moment. They've Juracek, Samos, and Haycox is closed right up on these guys now.
He is there. You can see every lap here, you always flirt with that pit entrance. So hard to predict if these drivers are going to head in there or not, but they've got to get slowed down in a hurry. A couple other drivers behind them have come into the pits. David Gaspers is one of them. There he is in his number 1 pit stall, in his number 1 car. He's away out on the pit exit. So that's going to make Jason Perry the new leader for now. Miroslav Juracek second. So this all of a sudden has become a temporary fight for second and third place.
As Jerry McAreevy's made his pit stop as well, and he's coming back out, and he should come back out round about probably in the midfield.
Hopefully traffic doesn't catch these drivers out. If they wait too long to pit, they don't want to get stuck in slower traffic when they do exit the pits. But we continue to watch this battle on screen. Look at how much curb Juracek was taken there. Whole car completely up on top of the curbs. There they go again. It's the pros and cons. It's a two-edged sword having one of these smaller spec racer Fords, but you get a lot of grip, but you've also got a lot of instability there. Gotta be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the Spec Racer Ford. It's a fun car, but you've got to be. It's one of those cars. It's not like a high downforce car. You can't just throw it into the corner. You've got to get it done, all the braking done in a straight line, and then as soon as you hit the apex, you've got to get back on the power just to make sure the car's stable. And suppose it looks like it's got the run of Juracek, but I think Juracek looks like he's going to dive into the pit lane.
Juracek goes to the pits indeed. No one in that front three pocket of cars follows, but no one behind him really follows either for now. We'll have to keep an eye on it. But meanwhile, it is Jason Perry leading, Felix Simoes and Hugh Haycox who stay out on track. And Felix Simoes sideways right now on the curb. Oh, the 31 just had a beautiful save through the S's.
Oof, well, that was a heart and mouth moment for Felix, and it looks like that's going to give Hugh Haycox a chance to get a run on him and possibly pick up second place. And Hugh Haycox up into second place, and yeah, that was luckily for Felix he managed to hold that.
Right on board here with the 31 of Felix Simoes. It's this curb right there. He gets up on, and oh boy, great job for him.
Absolutely, and it's like it's kind of all just kind of starting to spread out a little bit, but obviously with the pit stops happening as well. But I'm just looking at the battle for fifth place as well. Emil Orza is, surprisingly for me anyway, he's managed to catch up to Maurizio Naselli, and is putting him under huge pressure.
Great job from Orza today. He certainly used slipstream to his advantage to get up from 13th up to up to 5th place rather. We'll have to see where all of these drivers, starting with the leader Jason Perry, when they come into pit with just under 14 minutes left. That window is getting smaller and smaller for these drivers. Let's see what the 97 car does here. He's going to merge right and stay out on track. Behind them, Hugh Haycox. He's told everyone in chat he's coming in, and he does indeed. Gets that car wound down to 45 miles per hour. Ian Haycox follows. But for the most part, everyone behind, or everyone in front, staying out.
Yep, and Adam Bradshaw dives into the pits as well. So it looks like everyone, as it stands at the moment, everyone's starting to make their pit stops. And it looks like I was going to say I thought Dominic Bureau was in the pits as well, but he's stayed out in the track with Simon Mayer as well. So these two guys it looks like are maybe trying to stretch the field out as long as possible.
It is worth noting that David Gaspers, who is in 7th place, he's the highest pitter. He was leading this entire race. He had a pretty quick stop too, 9 seconds in the box, 25 seconds in the pit lane. That's going to be hard to beat if you're Jason Perry, Felix Simoes, Hugh Haycox up there trying to jump him, or at least even trying to close into him. It doesn't even look like he's out in a lot of traffic right now. This might have worked out perfectly for Gaspers coming in and taking that early stop.
Absolutely, yeah. David Gaspers is pretty much, when it comes to the pit stops, he's always nailed the pit stops, the pit entry, the pit stop, and the pit exit. He's always nailed it to perfection, and it looks like it's going to be that way again. And I think there's not that many people left to make a pit stop, and at the moment, surprisingly, around into Lagos with many cars, it's all settled down at the moment.
That pit entrance and pit exit So tricky here at Interlagos. Jason Perry rounds the final corner. And he is going to throw in the towel. He's got to come in and get some fuel in that car. Same with Felix Samoz. Same with Maurizio Naselli and Emil Orza. This looks to be the end of the window. And Jason Perry's had massive problems. Oh no, comes across back in front. They're able to get through, but huge problems for the 97. In the pit lane, he's throwing it away. What happened here? It completely snapped on him.
Yeah, that was a weird one. It looks like he might have tried to carry loads of speed and not to lose too much time. And when he's went to slow down, it just snapped on him. But that was unfortunate for Jason. He was having such a great race, and yeah, it's just that can happen around this track. As Felix was leaving the pits now, and just coming out behind Miroslav Juracek, and also looks like Hugh Cogs.
Oh boy. And David Gaspers cycles back through to the lead, and he's got over 5.5 seconds of a lead over Simon Meyer right now, who has not yet come into the pits. But yeah, that is, I mean, it was just under 3 seconds when Gaspers went in. He came in for that early stop. It was flawless, and Gaspers more than doubles the lead he had over Juracek and Haycox and others up there contending for the podium.
Yeah, Gaspers will be rubbing his hands as well with delight, because yeah, that's basically, if he keeps it clean and keeps it going, that's basically handed the race to Gaspers, and yeah, David Gaspers again in the box seat when it comes to luck.
And I mentioned Simon Meyer, who did not pit. He was fighting Dominique Bureau for the Spec 2 lead, and they split their strategy. I applaud Meyer for trying something different. He stays out a lap further. He's got to come into the pits now, I'd imagine. He is indeed going to head left. Wonder how much fuel is left in that car as he gets it wound down. Apparently enough fuel is the answer, and that's the only answer that matters. We'll have to keep an eye on that Spec 2 race lead, though, and see where Bureau cycles through. He's back 15th overall right now. Trying to find him on track. Oh, he's just coming up to pit entrance right now, where he'll be whizzing by on the front straightaway. I think Bureau might be able to jump him, but Meyer's already away and out of his box. Bureau is going to head into turn number 1.
Yeah, Dominic's easily going to pass him. He's in turn 1 now, and it looks like, yeah, he's easily jumped Simon.
Simon's going to have the pit exit to work with here. He's going to get launched out. It's not a huge gap. It's certainly manageable. We'll have to keep an eye on that Spec 2 lead, because Simon Meyer, it's not a runaway for Dominique Bureau, because Meyer is right there behind him.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think, can Simon close the gap to Dominic? I think he can, but I don't think Dominic will make it easy for Simon to get by if Simon does close the gap on him. But yeah, I think that's most of the pit stops done now, or just about. And it's all spread out, and Dominic Bureau has got a bit of a gap to Simon, but I think with the slipstream, Simon can close that gap down.
It is certainly tight up there in the Spec 2 lead. It is not, however, in the Spec 1 lead, as everything is cycled through. David Gaspers, I said he doubled his lead over everyone. I've got to correct that. He tripled it. It's up to over 10 seconds over Miroslav Juracek back in second place. Juracek, on the other hand, he's still got a bit of company. He's got Felix Samoz and Hugh Haycox all in a line for second, third, and fourth. That fight's not over.
Absolutely not. And yeah, it looks like Jerry McAreevy might have had a pro while he spun in the chicane.
Looks like he did. We watch that now. Tough break for him. He's going to lose quite a bit of ground. He was up to... he was inside the top 10, I believe, when that happened. He's down to, I see, 13th on timing and scoring right now.
And yeah, it looks like Simon Meyer might have just got passed for possession by Yerny Zorik. So Yeah, this is what Dominic Bureau exactly needs at the moment in the closing stage of the race. He needs a car between him and Simon to keep that Spec 2 lead, and if Dominic finishes first or second in Spec 2, he'll take the championship lead in that division.
Yeah, hopefully that's not going to help Simon Meyer. I know through the technical parts of this circuit, it will hurt him a bit, but hopefully that's not going to give him the draft that he needs. Maybe that's the strategy he's employing just out of desperation. Just give anything a shot at this point to get up there and contend. One driver, Ryan, we haven't mentioned is Andres Bertoni. He did not set a qualifying lap, but he started back in 48th. He's up to 6th right now. It's been an incredible drive for the number 21.
Yeah, absolutely. And Andreas is, yeah, he's had a bit of a quiet race. He's not really been involved in any incidents or not really, not caught up in any incidents or done anything silly. And he's been rewarded with at the moment, if he keeps on track, he'll be on for a 6th position finish. So a great drive by him. And if there was an award, I think the most places gained award, I think he would be in contention for that.
He had a very late pit stop. He's only been out there for a couple of laps since his stop, and it was a quick one as well, which certainly helped him. 8-second pit stop. But this is the battle we've got our eyes on. Second place, Miroslav Juracek, really feels threatened right now, and because he's got Felix Simoes and Hugh Haycox rather all over behind him. They're going to be working together, trying to draft up to him here. Is Simoes going to take a peek to the inside? Not yet.
Yep, these three are really close together, but not too far behind these guys as Minic and Selly. If any of these three get caught up with each other in the closing stages, Selly could be there to pick up possibly 2 positions, even 3 positions. And as Samos tries to take a look around the outside of Juracek, and they can't get by him, but heading up to the first hairpin, Samos tries to take a look, but Juracek is slightly goes defensive.
Bit of a stack up there, and time is ticking for these drivers. A little bit off track for Simoes. That'll hurt his momentum, but he's going to ignore it because he's going to be able to lunge underneath. Not able to get the job done. Has to fall back in line behind the 84, but we are coming down to 4 minutes left for these drivers here at Interlagos as everyone follows the likes and the pace of David Gaspers over 10 seconds ahead of these drivers. He's just coming across through the final corner now. So we should have, I believe, 2 laps to go.
Absolutely, and David Gaspers pretty much been in command of this race. He was under a bit of pressure at the start of this race as well, but they kept his cool. They managed to pull away, build up a bit of a gap while everyone else behind him was scrapping amongst themselves. And further back, we've got a battle between for 6th position, what suits like Gorka Utarati and Andreas Bertoni as well.
Oh, but Simoes, he's going to be able to sneak through for 2nd place, and we had big wiggles from both Juracek and Hugh Haycox through the S's. That is gone to perfection for Felix Simoes. We'll take a look at this again. He gets him through the draft right here on the front straightaway, but it was through the S's that Juracek and Haycox just about lost it. We've seen some great saves there. You can see the counter steer there. Close calls, and it's going to take quite a bit for them to fight back, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what Felix needed. He needed Juracek and Hugh Haycox to have issues, and Miroslav just got a little bit unsettled into turn 1, but Felix Simoes just got a bit of a breathing space behind him. But don't forget, with this long run up to the home straight, that slipstream can decrease that gap massively.
You did mention a battle for 8th place. Ian Haycox is just, as we see there, just over Emil Orza, who has been aggressive today. So has Ian, though. He started 15th and he's up to 8th. Emil Orza started 13th, up to 9th. Both of these drivers have had to race with their elbows out. They've done it successfully. They've had a few close calls along the way, but after 40 minutes of racing, they're here not side by side, nose to tail with each other, coming up to their last lap of the race.
Absolutely, and it looks like Emil's got the run, heading up the hill, and yeah, these guys, like you mentioned, have they got their elbows out, but they've not done anything silly or anything like that. They've not tried to get argy bargy, and they kind of get hit each other's cars, and they've done it hard but fair.
I'm not sure if this is the white flag. It is very tight. He came across the line with about a minute 50 left. Gaspers, that is, came across the line with about a minute 50 left. We're coming around minute 52. We'll keep you updated, but it's so hard to tell sometimes in the sim what gets called the white flag and what doesn't. They continue to battle for second place. Felix Simoes caught by Juracek. Hugh Haycox has been dropped off significantly from that train. It's now just the train of two cars. Simoes trying to hang on to that spot. We'll keep an eye on the leader. Simoes able to pull away, it looks like, through the more technical sectors of this track. And a little bit of a wiggle again from the 84 of Juracek, just trying to drive as aggressively as possible late in this race. David Gaspers coming up the hill. And soon to be down it. Taking a look at the timing and scoring. Oh, it is super tight. I think he might get one more go at it. He comes across the line and he takes the white flag. He's got 2.68 miles left to go until his 5th win of the season. That is good news for Miroslav Juracek, who has still got 15 more shots to get around Felix Simoes. The fear now, Ryan, is for all these drivers, I hope they've got the fuel right.
Yeah, and I'm just watching the Spec 2 class as well to see if the front runners in that class got it right as well with regards to fuel. So it's like you say, it's going to be super tight on fuel. As Dominic Bureau tries to go up the inside of Yerny Zorik into turn 1, and he gets them out side by side, but luckily both of them have managed to make it through one piece. And yeah, just be careful, Dominic. If you win the race, you'll take the championship in the Spec 2 class. Take the championship lead. Sorry.
That's a good sign on terms of fuel. If he's willing to make that pass or go for it, he might not be short on fuel. I think if he was short, he might be able to save and sit back. Sitting back is something Miroslav Juracek is not wanting to do right now for second place. He is desperately trying to catch Felix Simoes for second place, but a little bit off track for both of them there. A little bit of grass kicked up here. Just trying to get an apex differently through these turns, trying anything he can. I think it's going to come down to that final straightaway where he's going to be able to, or he's going to have an opportunity to slingshot him. But speaking of that final straightaway, David Gaspers coming through the final turn. It is indeed going to be his 5th win of the season in the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors Series. Another dominant win, his 2nd straight victory for David Gaspers. Behind for second. What can Miroslav Juracek do? He's pulled out of line. He's going to have to go the long way around to the outside. Can the 84 nose ahead? This is the battle for second place, a drag race to the finish line, and Miroslav Juracek's going to have it just by a nose to finish off the podium. Wow, as Hugh Haycox comes across 4th, Maurizio Naselli finishes top 5. Ian Haycox under threat for 7th. Because Emil Orza, just by a hair, lost out on 8th, and Andres Bertoni, he is out of fuel coming across the line. After starting 48th, he was up to 6th. He's going to lose out on the top 10, maybe even the top 20 if he can't limp this back to the finish line. Bertoni is going to wind up finishing down in 17th. Just gutted for him.
Yeah, and in the Spec 2 class, Dominic Bureau manages to hold on for the Spec 2 win, and Simon Meyer finishes in 2nd, and rounding out the top 3 was the honey monster Jim McGill.
We've got more drivers coming to the line side by side. Look at a bit of contact there into the wall. Almost, at least. That was Bob Kern who gets turned sideways. He was battling side by side with Jonathan Gaston-Migno. A little bit of elbows out there, definitely. That was a battle for 27th on the grid. And Bob Kern, he's not going to like that. He's going to fall outside the top 30 because of it. With that being our last close battle coming across the line, we are going to step aside on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network for just a moment, but we've got some upcoming races on GSRC coming across your screen, so maybe be sure to mark them down on your calendar. When we come back, we've got 50 drivers to run down in terms of final results and some driver interviews as well. Welcome back to Autódromo Jose Carlos Pace, where David Gaspers has taken his second straight win of the season, his fifth overall. The points leader, the number one machine, extends his lead in the points, and he had over a 10-second, nearly an 11-second victory over Miroslav Juracek. Felix Samoz rounds out the podium. That came down to 2/100ths of a second at the line. Hugh Haycox and Maurizio Naselli, another close finish there. With Gorka Iturrate, he came up from 6th place. He had a quiet race, with Ian Haycox from 15th up to 7th on the grid. Emil Orza, Jason Perry, and Jerry McReevy will round out the top 10.
Finishing 11th and taking the Spec 2 one was Dominic Bureau, and 12th was Yerny Zorik, 13th was Simon Meyer, 14th was Daniel Sadro after a downer of a race, you could say. 15th was Adam Bradshaw, 16th was Daniel Dick, 17th was Andreas Bertoni after running out of fuel. Finishing in 18th and rounded out the Spec 2 podium was Jim McGill, 19th was Yannick Chauvin, and 20th was Ed Doherty.
Donald Fitterer in the 111 car is going to finish 21st after starting in the top 10. Stevie Ray up there as well. He was in the top 10, but an early incident that caught him in a bad spot of the track puts him down in 22nd, with Michael Dobeck, Tom Gradwell, and Paolo Brem. Lots of big names being stuck back in the midfield all day long. Antonio Reese in the 007 is going to wind up in 26th, followed by Brian Short, Jonathan Gaston-Migno, who had a little bit of contact in the last corner there. We saw Paul Jackson and Chris Murakami will round out the top 30.
Finishing in 31st was Brett Holt and Bob Kerr, finishing in 32nd, with Jeff Cantor finishing in 33rd. 34th was Jason Brown, 35th was Will Ferry, Jeff Jacobson finishes in 36th, 37th was Brandon Breasted, 38th was Tim Van Domelen, 39th was Nacio Hernandez Ross, and finishing in 40th was Kenneth Bately.
A surprising amount of drivers finishing on the lead lap, and a surprising amount of finishers as well. Kevin Boswell, Jorgen Peterson, Philippe Chauvin, and Robert Ile, I believe, were the last drivers. Miro Horatsky might have finished this race, but I know Erwin Rotkrins was our first retirement back in 46th. Very impressive race from everyone today, but no one out there was more impressive than the winner, David Gaspers, who gets it done again. But David, I'm sorry, I think you had another boring race out there.
Yeah, it wasn't that interesting.
So you started on the pole. The start looked good for you. It looked a little bit hairy for everyone else. You pull away. What's going through your mind the rest of the race? I saw you sideways a couple of times, but that's just the nature of this car and track. How were there any moments of the race where you thought you had thrown it away, where you thought you lost it, or were you just trying to keep it together in one piece?
I can't really remember a moment where I was sideways, so it wasn't anything special. Yeah,
Well, a
so
little bit sideways.
it barely counted the whole race, but yeah, I only in the beginning I had a gap of once I had him out of a draft, I tried to build a gap of around 3 seconds so that if I made a small mistake, I still had them outside of a draft. And then I just tried to hold that gap, and some things happened behind me which made the gap even bigger.
Yeah, and your pit stop was flawless as well. You tripled your gap, your lead, just through the pit cycle. I mean, is there any secret that you're willing to give away on how perfectly you're able to execute these pit stops week in and week out?
Yeah, unlike P2, which was chased at the time, I didn't spin in the pit turns and hold the others up. I think that was the only reason.
Certainly helps to keep it going the right way down pit road. But we go to another track with a lot of elevation change. We go to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park next week. How are you feeling about getting 3 wins in a row there?
I'll try, but I really don't like the track.
Well, hopefully we get to see you there in the booth as well, maybe on the podium. Before we let you go today, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, as always, thanks for broadcasting the race, and also SimStickers for sponsoring the series.
Absolutely, and we'll also tell you thank you for stopping by, and thanks for putting on a great show out there as well. Fun to watch as always. That's David Gaspers coming home with his 5th win of the season. Felix Most finished in 3rd place, and Ryan, that's the next driver you've caught up with.
Yeah, Felix finishing on the podium and finishing in the 3rd place, and yeah, that battle on the closing stages with Miroslav and the run up to the line was fantastic to watch. And Felix, I have to say, that was fantastic to watch. And but for you, I guess it was a bit intense, you could say.
Okay, yeah, it was. It's good that we put a good show for you guys. It was a bit frustrating. I was hoping to keep the 2nd place, but that's what it is. I had to redress from that come together. I had to with Miroslav, and yeah, I got a bit caught by surprise with his breaking point. Other than that, yeah, another race pledge with small errors here and there. The same thing that happened to me in Barcelona, but yeah, but it was fun. I like this track, this combination, and this is this track. Tracks, it's complicated.
Yeah, I mean the early stages of the race as well. But watching a few times, and you're getting sideways at times. And was that something to do with the setup, or was it just the track temperatures, or was it just trying to get into a rhythm?
Yeah, I was losing concentration here and there, and that was the reason why those things was happening. I was going wide and maybe going a bit too fast into the corners, and with these cars, it's it's very dangerous when you do that because you will most likely be sideways. I managed to save them all, but you always end up losing time here and there, and that's why David ended up so far ahead.
And the race tonight, or the track for this week, do you think it's been good for this car? How do you think it was from your point of view? Was it a good track for this car? And with regards to the driving standards as well, was it good?
With regards to driver standards, yes, I have nothing to complain. Everybody, I mean, I was the one at fault, in my opinion. But other than that, I had nothing to complain. Regarding the car track combination, I mean, if you like this kind of races with lots of draft and drag and toes, then it's a good track. I like the racetrack, and I like driving this racetrack. But to be honest, I normally enjoy this car better on smaller tracks. It's just a personal preference. Yeah.
And before we let you go, is there anyone that you want to give a shout out to, or any thanks you want to say?
As usual, I mean, for the organizing, Steve, the sponsors, and you guys who do a really good job with broadcasting. and everybody else on the racetrack. I mean, the show is made by all of us, right?
Good stuff. And before we let you go, are you looking forward to next week's track?
Yes, it's another track I like a lot. I remember driving this car there some years ago, a few years ago. I think I will like it. Let's see how it goes. But it's a tricky track. Also, lots of draft with those big straights. Let's see how it goes.
Good stuff. Well, thanks for joining us in the booth, Felix. And again, congratulations on the third place finish. And we look forward to seeing you on track next week.
Okay, you me too. Bye-bye. Thank you.
As that was Felix was joining us in the booth. And I think possibly up next, we've got the Spec 2 winner, Dominic Bureau, joining Nicholas.
We do indeed have Dominic Bureau joining us, the Spec 2 winner. And Dominic, I got to ask you, I mean, you had a great race today, but it looks like came down to a pit stop strategy.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened really. I played it conservative a little bit, a bit more fuel because we weren't sure how many laps we were going to do. And I guess I did good because I ended up in front of Simon, who I was following just before the pit stop.
So we've heard that Aaron might not be able to come back and finish the rest of the season in Spec 2. That would hand the championship lead, regardless of him racing today, over to you. But it looks like that sets you up for a pretty good run for a Spec 2 championship this year. How are you feeling about most Sport and Lime Rock being the last two races of the season to get it done?
Yeah, well, I have to go talk to these guys because they pulled Irwin from S2 and upgraded him to S1. So we bumped one position up. And then Aaron said maybe he was not going to do the rest of the season. So I really have to have a talk with those guys. But other than that, Mosport, actually, I'm going to have to buy it. Never raced it, but I wanted to try it. So I have no comments whatsoever. I have no idea what's going to happen there, but I'll try and we'll see what will happen with that.
How much of a home track is that for you?
It's not too far. I'm around Montreal, so Mont-Tremblant and Circuit Gilles Villeneuve would be like my home track. Mosport and Calaboogie, those would be in Ontario. So maybe I think it's about an hour and a half ride from where I live, maybe 2 hours.
Awesome. We were just talking before the broadcast today. We got to get some more Canadian tracks in iRacing. I'm sure you would agree with that. But before we let you go today, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Well, as usual, thanks to Stevie for organizing all that, and thanks to you guys for doing such a good broadcast, because my friends are watching it and they're having a blast looking at it. And thanks for all the gang for those clean races and all that.
Awesome. We love doing it for you and for your friends as well. We'll certainly give them a shout out just like that. And we thank you, Dominic, for stopping by, and congrats on the S2 win today.
Thank you, guys.
That's going to do it for us today on the Global Sim Racing channel. We want to give a special thank you to everyone who came out today for the 10th round in the SRF Weekend Warriors Series. That includes you guys, Dominique's friends, as well as all the drivers who put on the show for us as well. We'd also like to thank SimStickers for sponsoring today's event. Don't forget to check them out at simstickers.co.uk. An additional thanks to all the amazing companies that provided the software and hardware that we use to create a GSRC production for you. We also, of course, have to thank the very talented June Lalonde, who provides our music. See the screen for more on how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the crew today in the booth, Ryan, Joe, and Dougie. And don't forget to check out the GSRC on social media. You can go to our website on globalsimracingchannel.com, where you can show your support by picking up some awesome GSRC merchandise. And we're also on Twitter at GSR Channel, on Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, on Instagram at GSRC_Graham, and of course on our YouTube channel. You can head over there and hit that big red subscribe button so you don't miss a second of racing. Make sure to join us and the Majors series tonight as they go back home again in Indiana for the Indy 500 at 7:45 p.m. Eastern. And to see more of today's racing, like I said, we're going to be back next Sunday, same place, same time, but it's going to be the penultimate round at Mosport. With all that being said, thanks so much for joining us today, and until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.